And we're back again. This is Inspired Conversations. I'm Shawn with DevoApparel.store, and today I have a very special guest with me. Joining me today is Raw.Deen. How's it going, man?
What's up, man?
Awesome. And yeah, I'm glad to have you here today, man.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk. I love talking to musicians, but I also love talking to ones who are just pursuing what they want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's not enough conversation about, you'll hear someone that come out with a hit song or they have a platinum selling album or they're the biggest household name, but I don't hear too many discussions going on with like what it took for them to get there. You know what I mean? It seems like we'll have discussions like that with, movie stars. We'll have that discussion with, businessmen and entrepreneurs and stuff like that. But it's like, dude, these guys are defeating odds to get here. You know what I mean? And females. But regardless, like, they're doing all kinds of stuff to get here. I want to get into that mindset. And I've always been interested. Like, I can remember, I don't know, like, none of my friends were into it either. But I'd be telling my friends, like, this is how Master P made it. And they're like, who's Master P? It's like, well, like to me it's fascinating. Like I want to know how someone made it, even if it's not the area that I'm trying to make it in, because to me it's all about that mindset. It's all about what you're doing to accomplish your goal. So I want to know how that happened. So anyways, I'm excited to get into that with you. So
appreciate it.
Yeah,
we're here for it. Absolutely.
All right, man. So what got you into music? What made you start wanting to do music?
I guess it was like just growing up and seeing everything, just being a part of the culture. And I don't know, that was always just what I inherently felt like I should do. I wrote my first rap when I was 5. So
wow.
Yeah, it always just felt like, all right, yeah, like that's where I'm gonna be. Like the Jay-Z Big Pimpin' video on the yacht with hella hoes, fucking bottles and just shaking them up, just doing the most.
Dame Dash just pouring it out, yeah.
Absolutely, like it's the fucking NBA Finals. I curse, right? Or,
yeah. You're good. I'm gonna throw it out eventually. I just haven't yet. So
awesome.
But yeah, so it was just something that you just immediately resonated with and connected with, and I love starting with the why music because you'll get a variety of answers. You'll get some, like you just said, like it's just like it was the only thing. It was just the thing that made sense to me. It was the thing that made me feel like I could breathe. There's others like, man, I was just going through so much pain and turmoil that I just had to express it. There's others that it's just like, dude, I had to find something different. My friend had a studio. I just started doing that, and then it just, so I love, hearing how people start on the journey with music. So when did it in your mind transition from just something that, well, it sounds like maybe it was like this from the beginning, because I was about to say, when did you think that this could be your career? But if you're at age 5 thinking, like, I'm going to be on the big pimping boat, that was from the beginning then.
No, for real. I mean, I wrote the first song, and then it was just like, I remember my mom found it, and, like, I got my ass beat, because there was a lot of cursing and, like, gun references. And because at the time I was listening to, I think I just got my ass beat for singing I Get High by Styles P.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
2 weeks probably like that. I get high,
Yeah.
Because just the little voice was like hard. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know Get High was like, shit just sounded cool and the voice was so I was like, all right, bet. But like, I was probably like 12 or 13, and it was Christmas, and my mom got me a MacBook Pro. And I remember they had the little default mics on the side, and I just took a fucking earbud and GarageBand and plugged that hoe in, and then just was like holding the laptop up, like rapping into it, and then yeah, that's kind of just how it started. And then I was just poor, so I was like, okay, I never could find studios to go to, so I eventually just had to learn how to engineer. And it was just like engineering and rapping just was like my thing, and I feel like that helped me define my sound, because there are few people, like all of the people that know how to do multiple things typically end up very talented or at the top of their league. You look at someone like Kanye West, and he has, production, and then he had his rap and shit, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of other people, like, that's how it is 9 times out of 10, because there's only a few things in music to really do. I think 6ix9ine, like, even shot his own videos and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Which is like crazy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you have an idea of the behind the scenes and what takes what it takes to like craft up something. It's just like if you a model, you can already envision in your head what you look like before the camera takes a picture of you, which is why you make the face, because you know what you're gonna look good doing. A lot of people can't do that shit. I can't do that shit when I'm taking a picture. I just make whatever face I'm making, and I got picked through 50 pictures to see what stupid is. You know what I'm saying?
I get it, yeah. That's a good illustration, though. That's like a really good illustration to say that, like, because it's almost like, you know, I don't play basketball, but I love watching it. But, like, when you would see, like, whoever you're watching, if it's LeBron or it's Kobe or it's MJ, you know, like, they know what to do before most people even know what's happening. And that's why they're the greats. Like, they can predict what's going to happen.
Exactly. They live in it. And it's like when you live in it, when you feeling it, it's just instinct.
Just like, you know, when Jordan would do like the fake where he's just palming the ball, like he'd just go for the shot and he would just come back. It's like he knew he was gonna do that. Like it's just, yeah, I like that. It's instinct at that point.
Right.
You know how it should sound. So do you also produce your own records or just the engineering part?
I'm ass at producing. I tried to produce. I probably made like 300 beats. Not of those 300, I got like 2 good ones. So
that's how that process is, though. Like, I have a friend, because back in the day, one of the reasons I'm so interested in music is we started doing music, like rapping and everything, when, I don't know, like 14, you know what I mean? And it was kind of the same process. It was like, I'm from middle of nowhere, Kentucky. Like, that shit ain't around here, but it is, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's like, and so there's no studios, there's nothing like that, but there was a couple of guys that I knew. So I recorded a song with them. Then I sold it at my high school for like $2 a piece. And I made like $800 in 4 days. And then I took that money, and then because everyone was surprised. Like, I walked around with headphones like this and a Walkman, and I just said, hey, listen to this. And then they would listen to it, and I was like, $2. And they're like, okay, here you go. And so I just sell them like that, sell them out of a backpack, just burn them. And anyways, I did that because I was like, all right, I got to buy studio equipment. So, like, I bought an Audio-Technica mic, an interface, and Sony Acid Music Studio, but it was called, like, Acid 4.0, but it was a bootleg, too. Like, I just bought it from a guy who had it. He probably bootlegged it himself. But I remember, like going through that process, there was such a rush because it was like, I got to get all this stuff. Then I get it all, and then we don't know what the hell we're doing with it. So now it's like, well, like, we got it, you know. So then my friend Kat started like learning how to do all the engineering, learning how to do all the mastering, started making beats, and they sucked for a while until they didn't. You know what I mean? They just eventually got good, and then yeah. So it was just this huge process of learning. So that's one reason why I'm always interested when you start that process and that journey to transition from just like, I'm just on the corner rapping, so to speak, to actually trying to produce quality songs that can get you exposure and get it out to fans and build a base and all of that. I'm always interested where that shift comes, because someone on the outside looking in doesn't necessarily know all the work that it takes. Like you were just saying, like engineering, like most people don't even know that's a process. You know what I mean? Like,
I almost feel like in music they hide it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
No one ever wants to like show how they got to the top of, you know what I'm saying? Like, you look at, like you said, a lot of actor success stories, and it's more or less written out, the blueprint, what they had to do, whether it was getting headshots. It's like, that's the whole thing with more or less anything else in this world, aside from certain aspects of entertainment, there's blueprints. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's certain things that you need to do, and if you follow that, then you'll prosper. You know what I'm saying? If you want to model and you just go and get headshots, and then you join an agency, that's kind of just the blueprint, and you're gonna do good, more or less. And from there, it's just like your talent is gonna separate you. In this field, it's totally different. It's just like, okay, we're all scrambling. None of us have any idea what we're doing. Even the stuff that was getting number ones 20 years ago, the stuff that was getting number ones 5 years ago ain't even working no more. So it's just like, it's constantly being reinvented, and on top of that, it's just like, everyone's just in a clusterfuck, and then the people that do know what they're doing, 9 times out of 10, are just extorting the lower class so they could feed their pockets, because they probably not making that much money off of it, because they didn't know the business as much as they should when they were coming up. And it's just like one big like ravenous cycle of just like, I don't know, almost like people just chasing clout and doing for self. It is very inauthentic in a way. And I was even saying, like, the music industry is getting so beat because music nowadays is starting to become like acting in the way that it matters what's off record. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, we not judging a rapper, okay, how good is his music? We like, okay, he a real nigga. He just did a bid for this song. He just shot at this nigga. He just did this. He just did this. And then we kind of like people for what's going on record, even if on record they're ass. You know what I'm saying? And then you got people that might have been good on record 10 years ago that haven't been good on record for a minute, that like they just get excused because they've had the track record. And it's just like, it's all a big game of marketing more than anything. It's scary.
True.
Propaganda.
That is true. You know, like you think music is one of those, especially rap music, hip-hop music, it is one of those art forms that we hold to a different degree. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some things I don't want to let go of, you know, like ghostwriting. Even though I love Kanye, I was disappointed when I found out he had writers, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I look at him as like he's more of like an artist and not so much a rapper, you know what I mean? And he presents himself that way, so I guess I excuse it, but it's just like, I don't know, like if I found out 50 Cent didn't write his raps, like that would bother me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's some things I don't want to let go of, but at the same time, it's like when I listen to Jeezy, for instance, you know, because I'm from the South, so like a lot of it's going to be like, you know, Southern music that I listen to, but like when I listen to someone like Jeezy and he's talking, like I know he's not still Dylan, you know what I mean? Like I understand that this is entertainment as well. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of people like Denzel from Training Day, but they don't think Denzel's really out there doing that type of shit. You know what I mean? And if they find him eating a steak at a nice restaurant with a sweater on, they're not going to be like, oh, you're not real. Like what is this? You know what I mean? Like, so anyways, I do, that's an interesting point. I don't think people think about that enough. You know what I mean?
That's not afforded to rappers. We're not allowed to tell stories outside of just our mind frame where you just was fucking capping. Like, Johnny Cash could sit here and talk about how he robbed the fucking bank and then slapped the hooker and rode away on a big green trailer, and like, it's all well and good. You know what I'm saying? And also, rap is one of those things, it's a young man's game more than any sort of music. You have rock bands that are like 60 years old that if they dropped the album today would still sell and they would be just fine. Whereas rap is just like, we kind of look at a rapper like if you're Jay-Z's age and you're not talking about Jay-Z shit, then it's almost like you need to grow up. Like, oh, what's he think? He's still 25? Like,
True.
Jay-Z kind of has to take that angle of just like, you know, now I'm going to school y'all to how you do this shit because that's some old head shit.
Yeah, he couldn't really do Blueprint 2. He's got to do 444. Like, he's...
You know what I'm saying?
I get that. But see, I think we're in the first generation where we're actually going to see what that looks like. With people like Jay-Z and you know, people who are still putting... Because I can remember, this is so funny, but I remember when The Game was like going against, you know, G-Unit and everything, and on the One Blood song, he's like, you're 38 and you still rapping, and now, like, he's 38 and still rapping. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It used to be something you've never seen. Never.
Exactly.
And now you're starting to see that more, and 38 doesn't seem old at all. You know what I mean? And then when you think Jay-Z was like, what, 30... What was he when Reasonable Doubt came out? 30... Maybe 30? Like, most people don't know. He was like... Or maybe 29? I don't know. He was like older. He was not 18. Or
around like 20... He might have been like 25, 26 or something.
See, I thought he was older than that. I thought he was like 28 or something. Anyways.
Was he with Beyonce at this time?
Not like his first album ever, Reasonable Doubt. Like, I think he was close to 30 years old.
I know when he got with Beyonce, he was like 30.
Yeah. But regardless, man, that is just, it's crazy because, like same thing with Nipsey Hussle. Like, I mean, he was, you know, he was older. He wasn't 20.
2 Chainz, Big Sean.
Mm-hmm.
There's mad people who just got it, like, super. But a lot of times they say the longer it takes for you to get on, the longer you stay on.
True. It's interesting, man. I'm loving this conversation. So, as you're transitioning into music as a career now, well, you're already sharing a lot, but what are some of the lessons that you've learned along the road of, like you said, just trying to navigate all those waters that you were just talking about? Someone who's doing your own engineering and trying to make yourself stand out with your sound. You got a signature sound about you, like I was telling you off camera. Like, I really love your new single you got out. Sounds like it belongs, but it also sounds unique. It doesn't just sound like I'm listening to someone else popular on the radio. It sounds like you, and that's awesome. So as you're trying to like transition through this and those waters that we just talked about, what are some of the lessons you've learned along the road?
I've learned that being a stand-up man will honestly take you a lot further than any of this entertainment shit. And I try to read stuff and just try not to focus my experiences around music too much, because realistically music is just another facet of life. You look at the 48 laws of power, and those laws equate to the music industry just as much as they do politics, just as much as they do warfare, and all of these type of things are like, things that are relative towards each other. And so I've just learned to, a team is necessary. Trust your OGs, but at the same time, don't ever trust anybody blindly. Everybody is in it for themselves in one way or another, and you can't be mad at that. You just gotta try to, like, everybody play their position, and it is it Shaq's fault for shooting the game-winning shot at the three-point line, or is it your fault for passing it to him? You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, you got to know the people around you, and everything ain't for everybody. And it's just like the Shaq three-point thing. Shaq, one of the greatest centers of all time. If you get him in the paint, the man's an issue. But anything past like 15 feet out, and he's might as well be a high school player. You know what I'm saying? And like, so it's like you got to know who on your team is good for what, because I'm not giving my Shaq the last three-point shot, and I'm not giving my Steph Curry the posterizer through the middle of the paint with three guys, because he's not good for that, and Shaq's not good for that. So it's just putting everyone to use where is necessary, and just knowing how to lead your team and knowing how to lead your squad, because at the end of the day, we're all lost. So
man, that's a lot of good stuff there that I want to unpack, because I love asking the lessons you learn, because I think that at the end of the day, and the reason why I said I love talking to rappers, and the reason why Inspired Conversations was meant to just talk to like entrepreneurs, right? Like, that's the reason I started this show. And the first couple episodes was like that, and then I started talking to rappers, and then before I knew it, it was like, that's all I did. I have an interest in music. And then I noticed that like a lot of the people that I see getting interviewed about mindset, about goals, about dreams, about, like you were saying, 48 Laws of Power, or Think and Grow Rich, or any of like those principles to achieve greatness, I don't usually hear musicians getting to talk too much. I don't usually hear from the rappers. And so as I'm kind of minding that out, and as you're talking, like there's a few thoughts in my mind. One, like you said, the principles apply across the board, right? So like you said, whether it's in sports, or it's in music, or it's in, like you're just going to own a local business, whatever, like the things that it takes for you to accomplish greatness are always going to come down to just a few principles, right?
Right.
It's going to be your mindset. Like you said, it's going to be your team, because you become the people you're around, right? And you have a great influence on them. They have a great influence on you. So you're only going to go as far as your team will allow you. You're only going to go as far as your mindset will allow you. And then I think there's a few more, but I think work ethic plays like a huge role in that, right?
Oh, yeah. Time management is heavy, and that's something I'm still not 100% on. But, we all got flaws.
Oh, yeah. And I think part of the journey there is being able to, like, recognize them. You know what I mean? Because time management was something I always struggled with. because I wanted to have like a chokehold on my schedule, right? I'm doing this at 7, I'm doing this at 6. Well, what if what I do at 7 takes me 5 hours? Do I just stop it so I can do the next thing, or do I just roll with the creativity, right? Because I can remember, this is a principle I learned from music, I can remember when we be in the studio, if we hit a vibe, we just did it. And we're gonna eat Waffle House afterwards. Like we're just gonna work all night, and it'll be 3 a.m. when we get done, and we started at 5 p.m. You know what I mean? Like we're just gonna roll with it and rock, and just let the creativity flow. And so now that's the way that I let my schedule be. There's some things that have to be scheduled, right? Like if I'm gonna do an interview and we set up a time, I can't just be like, oh, I was just vibing out. Like, no, I got to keep my time and my appointment. But at the same time, I want to allot for creativity, and I'm realizing that it's more of a life and a lifestyle than it is a job or a career. Like if you're going to be an entrepreneur in any field, it is a lifestyle. It's not a 9 to 5. And if you treat it like that, you can treat it like that, and you can still make good money off of it. But I don't think you're going to take it where you could take it if it was just a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's how Eminem goes. He's like, I forgot who it was, but they was like, yeah, he just...
Was it Akon? I think it was Akon.
Yeah, I think so. He was like, yeah, he gets to the studio, and he's like, comes there at 9, leaves at 5. So he has his hour lunch break every time. Yeah. Probably like the one exception to the rule. Like,
yeah, I'm starting to say that just kind of like blew everything I said out of the water, but still.
No, not at all.
No, I'm joking, but...
That's totally true. It's like, I feel like it's really a balance you have to get, because I've always... never put that chokehold on my schedule and just vibed out so much that the next thing you know, I'm just vibing on IG for 6 hours and I haven't got out the bed, and I'm just like, you know what, that was really unproductive, and I feel like a lazy bum. And like
True.
Now, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I feel like it's kind of a mix. It's definitely a mix between, you know what I'm saying, having that wiggle room for creativity, and also understanding that, like, yo, you could die tomorrow, motherfucker. Like, make use of this day.
Balance.
I've definitely fucked that part up too much.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's balance. And I also, going back to some of the lessons you learned, I love how you said everybody's in it for themselves to a degree, because I think that's so important, because one, people almost act offended or surprised when you find out that they're in it for themselves, and it's like, wait a minute, that's why you're in it too. Like we should expect everybody to get a piece, right? Like if we're doing this together, we shouldn't be surprised that you were wanting something out of it, because I'm wanting something out of it too. You know what I mean? So I think that's huge, is like realizing that one, everyone is in it for themselves to a degree. Like it doesn't have to be a negative thing. I love that you said that. Like it doesn't have to be negative, and we shouldn't assume that it's negative. Granted, there are a lot of people out there that just want to come up off someone. You know what I mean? And their intentions are 100% bad and negative, and they just need to get the hell on. You know what I mean? But there's also, your team that's riding for you, and they should be rewarded for that, right? Like they earn their due as well. And so I love that you pointed that out. Like, people are usually in it for themselves, right? And it doesn't have to be negative. You know what I mean? Like,
you watch Dave Chappelle?
Oh yeah.
You remember the skit when keeping it real goes wrong?
Yeah.
I think that there's so many people that it's like they keep it real to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that especially when you're coming from like where I come from and stuff, and it's just more like, it's almost just like people are like, the toughest motherfuckers be so sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, at the root of it is really like people just disappointed and shit, but at the end of the day, things are just business, and like people want to like see things as like, oh, you know what I'm saying, keeping it real, but keeping it real is almost the opposite of business every time, because business is like calculated, and business is, you know what I'm saying, cutthroat, and business is this and that, and it's like keeping it real a lot of time comes with a lot of entitlement and like emotional responsibility, and it's like all of that shit isn't always like necessary, you know what I'm saying?
True.
So I think people condition themselves, and that's how they end up failing, because they like they're so ingrained into this mindset that it's just like, fuck that, I'm gonna keep it real, that is just like a business opportunity comes for you, and you just like, oh, that shit is fake, like not fake in a way that's not gonna make you money, but fake in a way that it's like lessening your integrity. When it's really not lessening your integrity.
No.
It's just do a fucking job. Who wants to go to, like, you don't go to McDonald's and flip fucking patties. You don't like doing that. You're selling a piece of yourself, and if anything, that's for a lot less than you would be on any fucking businesses.
Yeah.
And it's like, not to say that, you know, everybody has a price. I believe that there should be, I mean, everybody's different, but I have a, you know, a ceiling. And
yeah, a threshold,
like,
yeah. Keeping it real. It reminded me, I remember watching this interview with Rakim, and he was saying, he was like, I never understood the whole keeping it real. He's like, all this is real. I don't know what you're trying to say. And of course, he was just pushing against that narrative of like, I am real. Like everything that I do is real. This is real life. And if you're not prepared to live in this real life, then you're going to end up missing business opportunities. You're going to end up because you think that that's, and like you said, we all need to have standards. I feel like we all need to have like things that we, you know, the quality that we want to do and the things like that. But at the same time, like the boundaries, whatever you want to call it, like I have things that I won't do because I know what I want to do, right?
Right.
And that's not just with like, oh, that's a sellout deal or anything like that. It's just like you were saying earlier, like I don't want to flip hamburgers, so I'm not going to do that shit. I've done that shit. I'm not going to do it anymore. It's just not what I want to do. I was talking with someone the other day, and they were like, well, if you can make $2 million doing this, would you do it? And I said, no. And they were like, well, don't you, like, my goal right now is to make $2 million in the next year. And it's like, well, or 2.7. It's like, well, don't you want to do that to make the 2? It's like, no, I want to make it doing the thing I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be fulfilled in my task, and I'm not just going to do it just for that. If it makes sense and it brings me fulfillment and it is what I'm passionate about, I'll do it. But if it's not, then I won't. And that's just my standard. You know what I mean? Like, I know what my purpose is. And I feel like when you know that, I don't know, it just brings a different type of fulfillment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Right.
I wouldn't have always said that. Like, I would have done almost anything for 2 before. You know what I mean? But now I just know my purpose, and I know what I want out of this life. And I also know that it's possible for you to have money and still feel unfulfilled. You know what I mean? There's a reason why you have, you know, people losing their shit even though they have everything in the world. There's a reason why you have people taking their lives even though they have everything in the world. It's like, that shit really doesn't bring happiness. Like, if all your problems are from money, then yeah, money can fix all your problems. But the truth is money's not all our problem. You know what I mean? Like, and so
sometimes it'd be the root of the problems, because it's like,
true.
damn, your dad was never here. Why wasn't he here? Because he was chasing money. It all boils down to capitalism. And it's just like, we're all kind of just getting fucked by Uncle Sam. So it's just like, we all kind of do what we got to do. That's why I do feel like the whole, like, money doesn't buy happiness. For poor people, it totally does. You know what I'm saying? For poor people, it totally does. But like, if you've ever had it, then yeah, it's more isn't really gonna do shit. But like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like there's some people that is just like going through that type of like circumstance just makes you fear to never want to be there again, by like many means necessary. I wouldn't say any, because it's just money at the end of the day, but like many for sure. Like, there are things that if I needed money, I would probably do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
true.
Like fuck it. You want me to load up this box truck full of 200-pound boxes? I've done it for 15 an hour. You know what I'm saying? Like, send it, and then put me in the middle of Arizona. Fuck it.
Yeah, because you know, that learning that for me was while like I was still broke. You know what I mean? But I just realized that I've had a lot of shit happen in my life that wasn't involved around money. So I realized that, like, man, shit's gonna happen whether you got money or not. And there's some shit that it doesn't really matter what's in your pockets. When that shit hits you, it hits you, and you have to have tools developed outside of that money that's gonna help you handle that shit when it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I heard Kanye say it this way. We were talking about Kanye earlier, but I can't remember which song, but it was a lyric where he said, like, having money's not everything, not having it is. Man, it's like, life. When you get it, you realize, man, that ain't everything. But when you don't have it, it feels like it's everything. And you can start to see, like, the majority of your problems seem like they're deriving from the lack of money. But there's
And ultimately,
always...
I think that just comes from humans, like inner drive to just never be happy. We kind of always just think the grass is greener on the other side, and more or less any circumstance. Like, how many times you've been dealing with a girl and you just like, man, this bitch don't make me happy. Fuck that bitch. And then you leave that bitch, and then you think about her 2 weeks later, and you're like, damn, I should call her. And then you call her and you back with her, and you're like, man, I should have left this bitch alone. It's just like, bro, like,
Yeah.
it's always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
We're always gonna make this idea in our head of a perfection, a perfect outcome that we didn't have, and like I feel like that ultimately leads us, because that's ultimately what makes greed and shit like that. I had one of the homies beating himself up because he didn't make as much money as he could have in some shit, even though he had made money and way more than, like, you know. And I was just like, bro, you gonna fuck your blessings up thinking like that. Like you, it don't matter if right now you made 300%, but it was too early before you could have made 500%. Like, bro, like, you still came up 3 times. You know what I'm saying? You could have not had shit. You feel me? And it's like,
yeah, I think that whole idea of not internalizing things. I've used this illustration on this show before, but it's man, it helped me so much. And just one of the reasons I love doing this show and just talking about mindset is perspective, right? Because talking with you, I'm getting perspective that I didn't have without talking with you, right? Vice versa. Like, maybe hopefully I'm giving you some perspective that you didn't think of, and we learn from each other. And so I think, like, the more perspective you have, the more you realize that whole grass is greener on the other side of the fence is just a bunch of bullshit, right? Like, what it really boils down to is we're not happy. So then we got to figure out, why are we not happy? You know what I mean? Because on one end, I always want to move the goalposts. If I achieve something today, I want to have a new goal tomorrow, right? But I also want to celebrate the fact that I just reached that goalpost. Because if I don't, then I won't appreciate it, right? And then that's where, like you said, the selfishness, the greed, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. Like, I'm never satisfied. So it's like, I want to be content, but I don't want to be satisfied. Or I want to be satisfied, but I don't want to be content. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be thankful for what I got, but I also want to keep pushing, because I'm here. If there's breath in my lungs, and there's more for me to do, there's more for me to learn, there's more for me to develop, there's more for me to grow. If I was done, then so would my breath. You know what I mean? Like, if I was done, then my heart wouldn't be beating. But if I'm not done, then let me learn more, let me do more, let me see more, let me discover more, let me share more, let me speak more. You know, like, there needs to be more happening. But I'm thankful with everything that I have in the same breath. You know what I mean? And so it's like that mix of, like, once again, it's just balance. But that comes from conversations like this, that comes from, you know, enlightenment, like just growing as a person, you know, and learning from anybody and everybody. Like, I always want to learn. Like, I don't really care to be the smartest in the room. I want to be the learner. Like, I want to discover.
No, you're the smartest in the room, and you have nothing to gain from that room.
Exactly.
Lose. And one thing about contentment, I believe that contentment is the key to happiness, and like nirvana in a sense. But at the same time, it's the killer of growth. If you're content, then you have no will to grow. But if I think it was J. Cole, you get 1 million, you're going to want 2. You get 2 million, you're going to want 3. If you chasing material things, then there's never going to be an end, because it can always get bigger and it can always get better. So the only way to truly be happy is to just love yours in a sense and be content with the things you have. But once you start being content with the things you have, I feel like you lose that killer instinct. You know what I'm saying? Once you don't want to be number one anymore, you're not going to be number one anymore. You feel me?
Exactly. Like, and now you're bringing it back to music. Like, and it's not always like this. There's exceptions. But you take someone like 50 Cent, right? Get Rich or Die Trying. It's crazy. Always it is a classic. It's going to be his best album ever. He's never going to top that, period. And the reason is because there was so much angst. Even the title, Get Rich or Die Trying. Like, people don't see the mindset in that. Like, there's no stopping. I about died. You know what I mean? I'm blackballed. I have real beef. Like, they try to kill me. No one wants to fuck with me. I lost my deal, but I'm going to make it.
Right.
Like, you ain't going to give me a shot, I'll take the shot. I'll make myself so damn big that you can't ignore me. Like, you know what I mean? And so now, of course, people are like, oh yeah, The Massacre wasn't as good as... Well, of course it's not. Like, are you kidding? Like, it was still good, but it's not going to be as good as that. Because there's too much angst. There's too much... Yeah, there's just too much dog there. You know what I mean? That and like you said, I think that discontentment, there's a balance. You know, you go too much one way and you lose. You know what I mean? You cave to one side of it. So I'm glad you're talking about that. I think to have that balance, like I want to be thankful for what I have, and grateful, but I also want to keep pushing myself. I want to grow. I want to. And so what I was saying earlier is I always love like referencing it to like watching my kid take his first steps. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I celebrated him when he took 2 steps and fell. Right? I didn't notice the fall. All I noticed was the steps. And I think a lot of times when we're on the pursuit of our dreams or our goals or whatever we want to do in this life, we internalize the falls. We emotionalize the fall. Like when you were saying one of your friends, like, thinking that, man, I could have made this much if I would have just done this. And it's like, but bro, you still made this. You could have made nothing, And so the idea there is like, you took a step, man. You took a step forward. So celebrate that shit. Because if you don't celebrate your steps, there's going to be a day where you don't take any.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you never acknowledge your falls, this is the other thing. If you never acknowledge your falls, you'll never step because you'll never get back up. Because you won't realize you fell. So the balance is important. Don't internalize the fall, but don't celebrate the steps so much that you don't recognize you just fell. So like the two work together for growth, So anyways, yeah, man, I find myself like trailing because it's just like this is good conversation. So bringing it back on speed there, I love the lessons you were sharing with that. I had one last thought when you were talking about knowing how to use your team, and you were talking about like Shaq is. You're going to want to use him in the paint. You're not going to want to use him from the 3. But if you have Steph Curry, you're going to want to use him from the 3 because he's shooting that shit with his eyes closed. I know you've seen the clip. You know what I mean? Like, he's just, because he knows it's going in. Like, he ain't worried about it. Anthony Davis's tall ass is in front of him. He's still eyes closed. Like, he don't care because he's practiced it. And so the idea is that everybody on the team adds something, right? Like, everybody brings something. And anytime you look at, like, success stories, like, you see that. You might think it was just that one person, but then, like, when you really examine the story, it's like, no, wait a minute. Or someone with him. You know what I mean?
Jordan didn't do that shit alone one time. Mm-hmm. Jordan didn't do that shit alone one time. Even LeBron didn't do that shit alone. But LeBron just built his team like a motherfucker. LeBron know how to build a team.
Exactly.
That's why I'll give him the edge.
Yeah, I think that team is important to realize that, like, and everybody has their own roles. So, like, it's important. I was doing, like, HR work a while back at this company, and the thing that I wanted to do was, like, I might hire you for this specific job, but if that ain't a good fit, I'm going to find something else, because ultimately that benefits us and you if you're in the right position. You know what I mean? So, like you said, like, I don't want you taking the 3 if that's not what you're good at, and that's not what excites you to play the game. You know what I mean? If you're passionate about something, that's what I'm going to put you on. So, like, it was a meal prep company. So, like, if someone came up to me and was like, dude, I want to cook, it's like, all right, let's do it.
Right.
Let's give you a shot. Let's just try it. Because if you're excited about that, I'm going to get better work out of you, right? Like, there's going to be a different quality that you give because you're, like, excited about that. So, if there's someone that's on your team who's like, dude, I love making graphics, go for it, man. like just fucking knock it out because you're passionate about it. So that passion, even though your skill might not be there, that passion's going to make up for it because you're so passionate about it. You're going to keep going. You ain't going to take no for an answer. You're just going to keep going. Pretty soon that shit's going to be awesome. You know what I mean? And so anyways, I love the idea of the team. All right, so now as you're transitioning, what would you say is a current goal you have on this music journey? Like, what's something that you're just really... I don't want to say... I say current goal because I don't want to say, like, what's your end goal? But what's, like, a goal that you have on your mind to accomplish this year with the music?
I I mean, I guess it's probably. I mean, you never know. I guess. I mean, no, in years I'm not sure. But I mean, yeah, I guess it's a bunch of small steps, ultimately building up to be like the Pyramid of Giza. But it's like, at the same time, it's all about the end goal to me. That thing, is it about the journey or the destination? I've always chosen the destination because, like, as long as I get to the right place, because people say it's more about the journey, but it's just like, all right, so you would take a long ass journey just to not get to your destination. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to get where I'm going. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, the goal for me, I just want to be number one, immortalized. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm reaching towards. And I feel like it's totally possible because honestly, in today's game, there's nobody even fucking trying. There doesn't feel like it. There's like, what, like maybe 3 people that really still have their head on straight that's doing this shit, and then there are contenders under that. And even the contenders, like I said, sometimes it's more media, sometimes it's more marketing, and it's more, I don't want to call it clout chasing, because I feel like to a degree that like undermines how hard marketing is. But
True.
it's just like, yeah, that's ultimately just what it is, a whole bunch of marketing, politics, and propaganda of, like, you know what I'm saying, Coke and Pepsi really fucking taste the same, but we're just sitting here trying to fight about which is better.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So. I'm glad that you answered it that way, because I normally ask the question, what's the end goal? And the reason I wanted to flip it when we were talking is because we were having like such deep conversations I mean, this whole interview, just a really deep ass conversation about mindset and about, you know, accomplishing things and just the lessons and all that. So I wanted to kind of flip the question and ask, like, well, what's a current goal? And I love how you said, like, my current goal is my main goal. And I love that, because I think, once again, it gives people an insight to the mindset you have, and the mindset I think it really takes to accomplish anything, which is your current goal has to be your future goal. And every day you just do a little bit to that. I heard Will Smith say it this way, when his dad, I don't know if you ever heard his story, but he said, like, when him and his little brother were young, his dad had him build a wall. And he would, like, give them advice stuff, but they built the wall. And he said the thing that he realized about building that wall, like he said, you know, he'd tell his dad, like, I don't think we're ever going to get this done. But what he realized is in building a wall, you didn't build a great wall by focusing on trying to build a great wall. You built a great wall by just laying each brick as perfectly as you could. And then eventually that made a wall. And so he said, in life, I just try each day to lay my brick. Just lay it as good as I can. So, like, the end goal being the current goal, I think it is, once again, that mindset of, like, I know what I'm after, and so every day, that's what I pursue. I know what I'm after.
Little goals are cool, but it's just like, it almost reminds me of just like, there's motherfuckers that just party every Friday just because it's Friday. And it's like, what are you celebrating? No shame to it. You know
I love how you said that. Like, what are we? No, yeah, that's good. That's good.
I've done it. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, at the end of the day, that's just existing. And it's just like, I'm just getting through this fucking work week, working for somebody else, so I could go and then spend my money at another fucker's bar on bitches that don't like me for a chance at some shit, when it's just like, yeah, you know, fuck all this. Like, I could just be like making myself lit. And it's like, or making a name for yourself, because once you make a name for yourself, then these same bars are gonna pay you to come there, and they're gonna give you free alcohol. These same bitches gonna be on your line anyway. And like, it's just like Scarface. Like, first you get the money, then you get the respect, then you get the power, and then the bitches come with all that. And a lot of people just focus on the bitches, and then like, that's what I mean by like, you like, if everything else is just balance, like, you have to celebrate, but like, you can't celebrate too much. And it's just like, the small victories matter, but at the end of the day, it's just a small victory. And like, I don't know, maybe sometimes I don't give myself enough credit, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I ain't really do shit yet. And I ain't do shit yet until we got number ones, or at least somewhere close to it.
Well, I think that's that drive we were talking about earlier. Like, the reason I brought up the 50 Cent thing was like the idea that, like, when you have that drive, like if you look at most artists, their first album is always their best album because there's just so much drive in it. You know, like they hadn't got there yet. Now there's exceptions to every rule. So, some people get better with time and they get a different hunger and now they're focusing on different things. But a lot of times that first like major album is usually like their best because they just have so much drive and angst and just will to like push it. So like you said, it's like, yeah, I might be the hottest in the city, but I want to be the hottest in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then once they get there, it's like you can see that like it's just not in them anymore. It's just almost like, well, you know, like I got it. You know, and so I think a key to keeping that drive, it's kind of like you're saying, like, let me celebrate, but let me keep it moving, you know? And that's one reason why I love, like, these kind of conversations, because it even makes me think and, like, rethink and be like, you know, like, maybe I don't spend enough time celebrating. You know what I mean? Or maybe I spend too much. Like, I love you going out every Friday. What you celebrating? Like, you know, because there are times where maybe I celebrated too much. And it's just like, dude, you ain't done shit. Like you have a big ass goal.
You gotta sit yourself down. You gotta sit yourself down sometimes. Like, yo, like, get your head in the fucking game.
Yeah, I've been telling myself I gotta hold myself more accountable than anyone else would. So right. I have this thing that like I threaten to fire myself. Like I work for myself, but like if I don't do my shit, like that's strike one. Like you got rolled up today. Like I'm gonna wrap my fucking self up. You know what I mean? And give myself probation because it's like this idea that like I have to hold myself accountable. No one's coming to wake me up. No one's coming to get on me and say, man, dude, you gotta push this content out. You gotta edit this video. You gotta like no one's making me do shit. I have to make myself do it. You know what I mean? And what makes me do it, what makes you do it, is that goal. Is that like, dude, I got this big ass goal, and if I have a big ass goal, I have to have like big ass work ethic. I have to have like, if my goal is a car, I gotta have a battery that can push that car. A AAA battery ain't gonna start my car. You know what I mean? And a AAA battery, like small drive, isn't gonna get me to my goal. Like I gotta have some big ass drive, and so I find myself withdrawing from things like where I'm just work, and that's it. Like I'm not out here like hanging out. I'm not out here like. It's just work. That's it. Like I just want to be focused on this because I know eventually, like you said, like one day that bar is going to pay me to be there.
For real.
I'm going to be getting a bag from just partying. You know what I mean? So let me party then. Let me focus on that when I ain't got to pay for it. And I ain't got to try to get that girl to come over here. She just comes over here because of who I am. You know?
You work now, you won't have to do that.
Yeah, dude. That's good. That's real good. Dude, I could talk to you all day, man. I'm being serious. Like, this is really good conversation. I am so glad that we did this. Dude, because, I mean, normally, like, I would ask more questions, but we've already been talking for, like, 2 hours. Like, it's good. We'll have to do it again, man. I would love to catch back up with you in a couple months and just see how the journey's going again and just, I'm really excited to see what the future holds for you, man, because, like, you, I mean, for one, your music's dope, but for two, like, dude, with the mindset you have, like, there's no way you're not gonna do something in the music. Like, there's just no way. Like, yeah, man. Like, I think mindset's everything. Like, I mean, of course, like we said, you have to have work ethic that matches the mindset. But, dude, with the mindset you have and the work you're putting in, I mean, there's no way you're not gonna like be number one.
Most people aren't talented, and most of the people who are talented have dog shit work ethic, so they don't get anywhere. So it really does make sense when people say hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Because you have people with proverbially shit products that have amazing marketing plans, and so they're fucking selling it.
Yeah.
And you have people with groundbreaking products that can't market to save their life, and so they're not selling anything. And then ultimately they just get stolen from the people who do know how to market. So it's like if you don't beat them to it, then they're just gonna beat you. So it's just like when you really got both sides, then yeah, the world is for taking. They gonna fucking hate me.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Like there's two. You heard of Gary V?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Gary V would say that he like I heard something. I don't know, like I can't remember what it was, but anyways, he was doing like a speech or something. And some people, he said, dude, I get emails every day about people telling me they have the next big idea and they want me to sign like a agreement that I won't say anything about their idea. And he goes, I just delete the email And he goes, and you know why? He's like, because everyone's got the fucking next big idea. He's like, I can tell you the next big idea for everything in tech and this and that. He's like, for the next 10 years, I can tell you all the big ideas that are going to happen. And he's like, but it doesn't matter that you have an idea. Execution is what matters.
Right.
What are you going to do about that idea? Like, you can tell me an idea all day long, but if you don't put any work behind it, if you don't put any execution behind it, it's just an idea, and it doesn't do anything. And so, like you said, you got to have both. You got to have that. And then I was thinking, when you said talent, I was thinking, like, one of the reasons I love Master P's story is, like, Master P was never, like, the best rapper, best lyricist, or anything. Hell, like, Silk the Shocker couldn't even rhyme on beat. Like, he was putting people on songs that they'd never rapped before. But the idea, and I'm not saying none of them were talented, but the idea was, when they were on, they were fucking on. Master P, before his divorce, was worth $600 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then he got divorced, and he was still worth $300 million. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
I can't imagine someone taking half of my shit.
Yeah, that's a different discussion altogether. But just the idea that this dude was so fucking major for like 5 years. He did all that in like 5 years. Like I don't know the exact timeline. I'd be interested to see it. But like, I'm gonna say from like maybe 2008 to 2001.
Yeah, we could damn near write that off as a billionaire with inflation.
Yeah.
And everything. That's like 1.2 billion.
And think about that, man, just in a couple of years. But the reason was that work ethic. I mean, I remember like when when BET did the like the No Limit Chronicles or whatever, like they did with Death Row, they were saying, like, Beats by the Pound was saying, like, Master P, like, had that shit, like, I mean, it was like, how many songs can we get done in a day? Like, I want 20 songs done today, because we're going to release 6 albums this month. And most labels are like, oh, we're going to release 1 a year. He's like, no, we're releasing 6 a month. Like, we're just flooding it because we're hot right now. And I don't know how much longer we're going to be number one. So we need to get everything we can get right now. Like, dude, that shit's just different, like you said. So it's not all about talent. It's about that execution. It's about that work ethic. It's about, like, how much are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to make people listen and make people pay attention, because you're just going to be right there, be relentless in it. So, yeah, it's good, man.
Like Marshawn Lynch, run through that motherfucker.
That's it. Man, there's like, I could just keep going, dude. Like, I'm being on. It's not like that with every interview I do, and that's no disrespect to anyone I've ever interviewed. It's just sometimes, you know, we have a good conversation, and that's it. And then there's some that get me thinking so much that it's like, dude, I could talk for another 6 hours. Anyways, bro, I appreciate you joining me today. Let people know where they can find you. Plug your stuff. I'd love for you to share.
Y'all can find me everywhere. Type in Raw.Deen. RAW, don't forget the dot, D with 2 E's, so RAW.DEEN, and really at war.com. I got a whole bunch of shit. This phone case is wearing thin now, but that used to be me, so
I got you.
Really at war.com for all the merch and shirts and hats and smats and mats, and Raw.Deen for the tunes.
That's it, man. Yeah, dude, we'll have to do this again.
Pride Inside's the new single, and the vaccination special will be dropping soon. You heard it here first. The vaccination special.
Hell yeah, man. Well, Raw.Deen, thanks for joining me, man. This has been Inspired Conversations. Once again, I'm Shawn. This has been Raw.Deen. Be sure to check him out on everything, and we'll catch you next time.